So I'll just get into it, guys. My name is Glenn Setchfield with DMI. I'm the VP of Marketing for DMI. If you're not familiar with DMI, we are an IMO based in Boston, Massachusetts, with 35 years of experience helping financial professionals improve business performance. So that's what we hopefully want to do here today as well. So we're back for round two. We're continuing our webinar series on LTC with the help of Mike Johnson, AIN Director of Member Services, and our very own Joshua Rem, our Life Sales VP. Mike has served as an internal wholesaler helping financial advisors enhance and protect clients' wealth with life insurance and asset-based long-term care. Joshua Rem has 15 plus years of experience in insurance and investment services, with experience as a registered investment advisor to financial institutions, an insurance producer, and a wholesaler. I'm going to let him talk about our topic today in just a second. But everybody, if you could please just feel free to use the Q&A function to ensure that we get the most out of our experts today. The last time I know they were very patient and very helpful in responding to questions. We love the engagement, so please engage that way. But let's go ahead and hand it off to Josh. Josh, I'll let you talk about the topic a little bit today.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. And like you mentioned, this is the second topic in our series. And I actually think this topic is perhaps more important than our first one, where we educated you a little bit about how these products work. And that's because since then, I've had a lot of good conversations with advisors who are very enthusiastic about wanting to present this to clients. So that's great. And then when their clients tell them that they're on board, they've bought into this, then the next step is very important, which is what we refer to as finding the money. Well, how do we fund these products? And that can be difficult to do sometimes, to determine where we're going to pull those assets from to fund these. But sometimes the answer is right in front of us. And that's the case here, because oftentimes with your clients, the bulk of their assets are going to be in qualified funds. They're going to be in retirement accounts. And that's not a bad place to pull them from. So as Glenn mentioned, we have Mike here, who was beginning to take on the nickname of the professor because he's so well versed in all this stuff. But he'll touch on that, how qualified accounts can be a very valuable source, a source that makes a lot of sense to pull this money from, and why that can be a tax advantage strategy. So with that, let's use the majority of our time speaking to Mike and asking questions on this important topic. So I'll kick it over to you, Mike.
Very good. Thank you so much, Josh. And Glenn, thank you as well. I appreciate the introduction today. As they mentioned, again, my name is Mike Johnson. I specialize in asset-based long-term care. I've been in the insurance industry for over 10 years with BGA wholesaling experience in both life insurance and long-term care. And I am very happy to discuss the topic of our themed webinar today. So here's the thing. Now more than ever, your clients are looking for that peace of mind that they have that extended care planning and long-term care planning that they know they'll likely need, but maybe not necessarily aware or what is the best way to utilize those funds in the most tax effective and most tax efficient way than they may have considered in the past. So really, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Now, as you have the conversation with your clients about how they'll go about funding their extended care or long-term care planning needs, the key question that really needs to be addressed is, how will you fund your care, and where are those funds coming from? So many times your clients will have an annuity that maybe has been earmarked for care planning in the future. And it's really no surprise that that's a common response to that question. And the statistics show close to 2.3 trillion of US dollars are in retirement annuities. And that's a good thing to have those funds that are set aside for those extended care and LTC needs. But the way that we can access these funds can be a lot more tax efficient than what they had planned for. And we'll get to that here in just a moment. The other common response to this question is that your clients are planning on pulling funds from a qualified plan, like an IRA or a defined contribution plan, and really no surprise there either. Again, the statistics show that there's close to $26 trillion US dollars housed in those types of qualified plans. So as mentioned before, let's make sure that when your clients access these funds to secure their care, let's be efficient as possible, especially when it comes to the way that these funds are treated from a tax standpoint.
So, Mike, it's interesting because when you see a client who has money in a retirement account, the assumption might be that that's needed for retirement income. But it seems as though if this is their response as to where they're pulling these assets from, sometimes you might find money in a retirement account that isn't necessarily earmarked for retirement income. Is that the case?
Yeah, that is correct, Josh. That's a really smart observation. Because again, that money may be set aside in their minds for that type of planning need in the future, where they've got that pool of money, and we'll utilize that for extended care planning, long-term care planning. But again, this strategy, we want to be as effective and efficient as possible. And I think this is a great segue into this next slide that we have to share with you. And so with that being said, I think it's safe to say that we can be a bit tax rebellious, if you will, to a certain extent. We're willing to pay our fair share of taxes, but we also want to be smart about the way we go about that and not pay above and beyond what that fair share is. So enter the Pension Protection Act, the PPA for short. The Pension Protection Act, that could be the best tax incentive afforded to people that are concerned about paying for that long-term care. Now, this is legislation that was passed by Congress in 2006. It went into effect January 1st of 2010. Now, why do we love the PPA and how it's tax advantage for all those that are considering long-term care planning? Well, it allows for people to do a 1035 exchange or simply transfer an existing annuity or life insurance policy with taxable gains into a new policy that provides tax-free long-term care benefits. And that encourages people to plan for those future care needs, take advantage of the tax incentives that are inherent to long-term care insurance. A lot of ground that we've covered there so far. I just wanted to pause for a moment. Any questions up to this point? All right, very good.
Looks like none from our group. So this is interesting. Mike is always teaching me something that I didn't even know or have the clearest understanding on. So when we talk about making withdrawals, typically we talk about it in the terms of, is it LIFO or is it FIFO, last in, first out, or first in, first out? How are you going to treat those initial withdrawals? Is the IRS going to look at it as interest or returns first, or are they going to look at it as a return of our contributions first?
Yeah.
So it looks like the Pension Protection Act has some influence on how to look at it. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Really astute observation there as well. And again, the perfect segue into the next slide. So, right, when we think about when that money is accessed, how can we be as tax efficient and make the most of these dollars? And because of the benefits of the Pension Protection Act, we have such a golden opportunity here. So I like to highlight a scenario in this case. So in this scenario, we've got a 68-year-old male, right? This is a $200,000 non-qualified annuity. And we'd be assuming a 24% tax bracket in this case. Now, the annuity was funded with a $150,000 single premium. And as you can see here, there is a $50,000 gain with this annuity. Now, what were those benefits before the Pension Protection Act? Well, so the annuity owners had to spend their taxable gains before the principal, referred to as cost basis. So as this slide shows in this example, if this person were to use this funding strategy, there is a tax ramification that really can't be ignored here. So with that being said, based on this scenario, it is a LIFO type of arrangement, as Josh mentioned, right? So before the benefits of the PPA, this person would be faced with a $12,000 tax hit. That would be reducing that $200,000 annuity to $188,000 right from the start. And also keep in mind that it could be more, right? So depending on their tax bracket, if it's someone that's in a 32% tax bracket, that tax bite would be $16,000 in this scenario. So the question has to be asked, is this the most effective approach? Well, probably not. So we'll talk about that in more detail and how we can be more tax efficient. But I always just, again, I want to pause here and just make sure there's no questions that are top of mind that we can address.
Good stuff, Mike. Keep it coming.
Okay, sounds good. We'll keep it rolling. So with the PPA, the Pension Protection Act now in force, things have improved drastically, right? So we've got a fixed annuity that has a long-term care rider that's designed to work within the PPA. The tax-deferred dollars used to pay for those qualified long-term care expenses are typically income tax-free. So in this same scenario, we're showing that annuity with the embedded gains, and now we have a more tax-favorable treatment thanks to the PPA. Okay. So in this scenario, where the client transfers the assets into that annuity with the long-term care benefits, and that's designed to work under the PPA. And to make this an even more powerful story, right, depending on the client's health and their underwriting approval, the annuity has a multiplier that will leverage the annuity value significantly. So in this scenario, that $200,000 annuity has been leveraged over 3 times its original value for that total pool of funds. Okay, and that results in $12,126 of monthly long-term care benefits at age 80, when the client will in most cases need it the most. And also remember, because this is designed to work with under the PPA, the growth that within the contract is income tax-free when used for those qualified long-term care expenses. So again, this is a very powerful story to tell your clients, without a doubt. And again, I just wanted to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned and we're addressing any questions as they come along. Any questions that are top of mind to this point?
Looks like we're good. So I love the 1035 exchange scenarios. There's so many reasons to go back to your clients, whether it's a life insurance policy you've written, but if you haven't written it, there's a large possibility that they already have a life insurance policy, and you'd be doing them a great service to consider how their life insurance fits their current circumstances. So they may have a life insurance policy with a good amount of cash value, but right now the death benefit at this stage in their life isn't the most important goal. So can we leverage that in a tax efficient way that can give them a significant long-term care benefit, which is something a lot of people need to solve for and haven't yet. So do you see a good amount of 1035 exchange solutions being used to fund these strategies, Mike?
We absolutely do. And I think that's, such a smart observation, because again, some of these assets may be, for lack of a better term, kind of dormant or sitting on the sidelines. And so, I think that's a fantastic lead into this next slide here. So when we think about our ideal clients, who would be an ideal client for this type of scenario? As we do these annual reviews, right, especially for an annuity review, or as Josh mentioned, if there's maybe an older whole life policy or something along those lines that could potentially 1035 into a new asset-based long-term care solution. When you think about these clients, think about those clients who are, at or near retirement, or they may have some annuities, like I mentioned, that are kind of dormant, sitting on the sidelines, if you will, where they could be used in a much more tax efficient way. So we also want to take a look at annuities that are near the end of their surrender charge timeline. With that being said, another area to target would be those annuities that have some significant deferred gains. or possibly some two-tiered annuities that have some significant gains in them as well. So great point to bring up for sure. Now, there's more good news here to this story. There is an annuity-based option for qualified funds to lock in that long-term care coverage, which is very unique in this space. So in this scenario, we're going to be looking at that same 68-year-old male, but instead of utilizing non-qualified funds, let's take a look at using, for example, an IRA rollover to fund that long-term care. So yes, there is an option for qualified funds. And so in this scenario, that $200,000 rollover takes place, okay? Now, right off the bat, the carrier will apply a 25% bonus to this rollover, and that results in $250,000 funding that long-term care solution. And the way that that's designed is it's built on a whole life chassis. So a little bit more detail as to how that works. So what will happen in this scenario is the carrier will stage that $250,000 single premium. That will be placed into the policy in a span of 10 years. So keep in mind that this will trigger a 1099 event. However, the carrier makes it easy for the client. They'll help mitigate the gain by spreading that out over the span of 10 years as well. And this is all handled in kind of a concierge style service. And so the long and short of it is it's one less burden on the client's plate to manage. Now, you'll see in the footnote here at age 80 in this scenario, the client's locked in over $200,000 of death benefit that will be paid to their beneficiaries if they never go on claim for the long-term care. And it also results in just shy of $12,000 a month in long-term care funds that they can rely on when they need it the most. So in total, your clients have close to $900,000 in tax-free long-term care benefits. So again, what a powerful solution to present to your clients. So far, so good. Any questions? All right, then. Moving right along.
Yeah, so sometimes you just cover it so well. We don't need the questions. But,
all right, well, good deal.
Yeah, but this is big because again, a lot of times your client's money will be in IRA assets for the most part. So this is a great strategy. So I think you cover the two most prominent sources of where advisors can find the money: 1035 exchanges from older policies, and then leveraging the IRA, spreading out the taxes. Because if the money isn't in a qualified account, at some point it's going to be taxed to somebody. So it doesn't make sense to kind of spread it out in this way. Are we helping them in a more tax efficient way by taking on this strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I took the words right out of my mouth, Josh. I mean, I think it's such a fantastic solution and just a stellar strategy to implement across the board.
And from a business standpoint, I mean, it's essentially a dual sale. You know, at the end of the day, we're here to help the clients, but you're also running a practice. So to leverage this in a way that will help your business and give a solution to a client that they might not hear from anybody else but you.
Yeah.
And they want to see this. They want to see this. They need the long-term care. They just don't know how to do it. So they're going to turn to traditional long-term care initially and see how it's a lose it or use it situation.
Yeah.
But they want to hear about this from you.
100%, right? And you as their trusted advisor has a solution that is just going to be above and beyond what they would have ever expected. And I think it's a great point, right? It's an opportunity for that dual sale as well. So with that being said, I mean, I have even better news to share with you. So the question might be, or you might be wondering, can your clients utilize this strategy to fund a joint plan? And the great answer is yes, they absolutely can. So keep in mind that there is what's called an eligible person provision, where your clients can use a single owner to lock in that LTC coverage for both spouses. A few caveats that we need to be aware of here. With that being said, to qualify that eligible person, they'd have to be a spouse. The person has to be named at the time of the application, the person also has to be the primary beneficiary, and both would have to meet underwriting requirements. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at a joint coverage scenario. Okay, so in this same scenario before, it is the similar type of scenario, but in this case, we're showing a joint solution again. Both spouses are age 68 with that same funding strategy. All right, so that same bonus applies where we're leveraging that total rollover of $250,000. Okay. And again, what will happen here is that the carrier will stage in that premium in equal amounts over the course of 10 years, as was shown before. And like we were showing before, the clients now have that death benefit that can be passed on to their heirs, their beneficiaries. And here's the other thing. It also provides close to $7,700 of monthly long-term care dollars for each insured. That's not money that's having that $7,700 is not being split between the two. That's $7,700 for each insured. And so again, when we think about that strategy, remember, this is a total pool just short of $600,000. Again, tax-free long-term care benefits. Absolutely vital to have this strategy in your corner. And you have the tools at your disposal to really make sure that we're leveraging this opportunity as best as possible. And I wanted to pause there again. So any questions that are top of mind related to this strategy?
Hey, Mike, we do have a couple questions from the field. One is this a dual product, or is the carrier doing both in one? Point being, you could get paid twice if you sell a 10-year SPIA and the LTC life product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in this scenario, what we would be showing is a singular policy, a joint and a survivorship universal life or annuity solution in this scenario. So yeah, this would be one single policy that we're demonstrating here. I hope that provides some clarity.
Is there an advantage to doing two separate? There
very well could be, right? And so
case by case.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is we're certainly not an accounting firm or a legal firm, but there's limitations with the advice that we can give from a tax perspective. But also understand that as we evaluate this on a case by case basis, that very well could be a scenario where we take a look at using a SPIA vehicle for a different individual policy as well. Josh and the team at DMI, we can help evaluate that scenario and help determine, does it make sense to be looking at a joint survivor type of solution or an individual policy? It will vary from case to case. But again, I think a very smart observation to say the least.
But yeah, Maureen, I was going to jump in. I saw that question. The answer is yes. That is something we see very often. You would get paid twice. And DMI does have the ability to set something like that up with the SPIA funding, the ABLTC policy.
Yeah, we just worked on a pretty large opportunity where an annuity funded a asset-based long-term care product. Great, first and foremost, great solution for the client, but also for the advisor's practice. It was a dual sale that gave them dual compensation in a pretty significant way.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, everyone. We do have another question, and I kind of have a feeling we're going to be covering this more towards the end of the webinar, but do clients have to be underwritten?
Yeah, and that's a great question as far as the underwriting solution is concerned. Now, keep in mind that with asset-based long-term care in general, it's typically a lot easier from an underwriting perspective. It tends to be a lot more streamlined and simplified. Now, in this case, we have carrier solutions that are going to make this a very simple and effective approach from an underwriting perspective. Keep in mind that these solutions are largely annuity-based. So with an annuity-based solution, we're not looking at the mortality and morbidity type of underwriting that you see with a traditional life insurance case. So in many cases with the carrier options that we have available, if it's more of kind of an impaired risk type of scenario, maybe you've got clients that are older, maybe age 70 or older, or maybe they have some significant underwriting challenges, keep in mind that these solutions can be a fantastic opportunity if there's some underwriting hurdles that they may have to encounter outside of an asset-based long-term care solution. So, in the long story short to this answer is yes, absolutely, there is underwriting in these scenarios, but it's such an easier process.
Right.
So again, remember, when you've got clients that have some underwriting challenges, if there's some impaired risk cases that need to be reviewed, again, what a fantastic opportunity to take advantage of, to have a death benefit, guaranteed premium, locked in benefits, and a much more streamlined and simplified approach.
Thanks, Mike. One more question while we're here. Does it matter the type of annuity that's used for these strategies?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I mean, when we talk about an annuity, right, we can either take a look at a non-qualified annuity. That is certainly an option that is a fantastic solution. So a non-qualified annuity could be utilized in this scenario as well. We're looking at qualified annuities. So the great answer to this question is yes, we can look at both structures and both strategies. And the bottom line is there's a solution, right? There's a solution to your client's long-term care needs, and we can utilize either one. So again, remember, this is such a powerful story. And I think, as Josh alluded to it, it's creating a win-win scenario for both you and the client, right? They can lock in the coverage that they need, and it presents such a great opportunity to build your long-term care business. So the answer is yes, you can utilize both styles of annuities in this type of solution.
Yeah. And I think too, besides qualified and non-qualified, I think traditionally SPIAs is what we're used in situations like this. But when this comes up, I'll often go to my annuity counterparts here at DMI, and they have some really, really great products to where you can use this for a 10-pay and still have something left over in the annuity, still have benefits left over in the annuity after paying for the long-term care policy. So you're creating two separate assets at the same time. So there's a lot of strategies there. Once you find the money, talk to us, between myself, Mike, and Andrew. We'll get you the best strategy.
You have so many different toolboxes, different tools in your toolbox, so to speak. So many different tools at your disposal to, again, create that win-win scenario. So, I mean, really, in closing, I always like to say that, remember that there's just never been a better time to have that conversation with your clients about securing those care planning needs. So there's been studies that show time and time again that Americans they're in desperate need for that long-term care planning. When we look at those studies that have been done recently, 74% of respondents in recent studies have showed that they're likely to need long-term care planning in the future. And nearly 2/3, 64% to be exact, say that long-term care planning is a priority of theirs, but there's really only 33% of those respondents that say that they feel confident in those plans. And then tying into that, younger clients, 75% of those survey respondents said that they're now prioritizing those long-term care planning needs. So with that being said, they've likely seen some kind of, maybe a family member or a friend that experienced some type of extended care planning need or long-term care planning need. So in general, your clients want that guidance and support in selecting the right type of long-term care solution and that coverage that they need. Because they say, there's 31% of those respondents say that citing a lack of information and feeling overwhelmed with the making a smart decision with their long-term care coverage needs puts you in a perfect position as their trusted advisor to help them find that solution. And again, that creates that win-win scenario. So very confident that this presentation shows that, again, you have a very powerful solution to present to your clients so that essentially they have that peace of mind, right? They've got that coverage when they need it the most. So really, again, in closing, remember that the team, Josh and the team at DMI, are primed and ready to help you take advantage of this opportunity so that you can provide that peace of mind to your clients and at the same time grow your LTC business. So without a doubt, please reach out to Josh and the team at DMI, as they're an amazing resource for you. So yeah, thanks once again for your time today, and I'll be happy to address any remaining questions.
Any questions as of right now, Maureen? Sorry, Glenn, go
We
ahead.
did have one more. And does a client's tax bracket matter?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So
Okay.
the tax bracket will definitely matter, right? And we talked about this before, where the Pension Protection Act and the huge benefits that come into play there when we think about that last in, first out versus first in, first out scenario. Before the Pension Protection Act was available to us for this type of solution, remember, they would be taxed on that gain once those funds were utilized. And that's not necessarily the most tax efficient approach. And in those previous slides that we showed, depending on that tax bracket and where they're at, once they start accessing those funds, that takes a sizable chunk out of that pool of money that could be better utilized, be a whole lot more tax efficient. So now that we were able to repurpose those assets and reposition them to the type of vehicle that offers that long-term care funding, it can be so much more tax efficient. So yeah, depending on that tax bracket, that impact could be significant. Now you have the opportunity to shield them as best as possible and just leverage those dollars a whole lot more effectively and efficiently.
And that is it. I do not have any more questions.
All right, then.
Thanks very much, Maureen. Thank you, Mike. Wonderful presentation. And we do have one other question that they just keep coming in. So will this be sent out so we can watch it again? Yes. So we will follow up an email. We'll let you know about upcoming webinars, but then also we'll give you a recording of this webinar so you can watch it again, learn more, absorb it all. But I just wanted to ask Josh, if you had any final thoughts or anything you wanted to share as we wrap up.
Yeah, so please reach out to me. I'll probably be reaching out to each of you in the near future. And then this is high level, which is great. We can get into specific product webinars one-on-one, so you know how these work. So if you have questions about the specific products, we will cover that between me and anybody here who's interested. And then I like the question on the underwriting because, Mike, if I might reiterate, it's somewhat simplified. I mean, for the asset-based long-term care products, are we asking for APSs? Are we doing blood work and medical exams?
Yeah, another great question there as well. So the answer to that question is, in some cases, yes, there will be that requirement, but we don't see that as often as you would see in a traditional life insurance-based case. Most carriers are essentially a pass and fail, right? So depending on that or their underwriting assessment, they may, in some cases, want to see maybe a script check or an APS or some additional medical records. But for the most part, remember, with asset-based long-term care, in many cases, it's just an application submission, maybe a quick 30-minute phone interview to get a speedy approval. And in many cases, that requirement for additional medical records in some cases can be circumvented. So this, again, remember, this is a great opportunity for your folks to lock in that coverage that they need it, when they need it, and it can be done in a whole lot more streamlined and simplified approach when compared to like a traditional life insurance contract.
Yeah, that's great. And I say that because it's fourth quarter, whether you're assets under management focused, if you're a P&C advisor, if your focus is somewhere else, that's great. And we don't want you to change that. But just one or two of these cases can make a good year and whatever you're doing into a great year, and you can provide a solution that's much needed for your clients. So try to think now even of a couple of clients that might benefit from this. I'm working very closely with Glenn and Maureen. November is long-term care awareness month. Am I correct? But
Correct.
This is great timing. So we will get you guys geared up to capitalize on that. How to start these conversations, how to have these conversations. Maureen and Glenn, we just talked today about how we're going to refine some of our existing outreach and client conversation materials. But at the end of the day, just think about 3 or 4 clients a week that you can reach out to. If you get 1 or 2 of these a month, it's significant. It's significant. We're here to help you do that. So again, thanks for listening. Any closing words? I'll kick back to you, Glenn.
Thanks very much, Josh. Yeah, and that's great. You know what? We are going to prep some materials, dust off some materials for LTC Awareness Month. So look forward to that, you guys. Also, coming up on November 6th, we have a Revolutionized Retirement with RAO, Retirement Asset Optimizer webinar, which will be great. If you're serious about financial planning, I know you are, and specifically retirement income planning, you've got to join us on that one. We're looking at giving clients better built retirements for about 50% less capital on average with this system. I want to talk about that. And then on November 20th, this will be a little bit more of a product-focused webinar, not something we always do, but it's about protection and performance, and it's a combination of John Hancock and Annexus coming together with a death benefit IUL, but then also providing some really great cutting edge performance driven indexes. So that's going to be really nice as well. So that's November 20th. Be looking for that. But yeah, we will follow up with a recording after this webinar. And beyond that, you know what? Reach out to Josh with all your questions. Keep the questions coming. Actually, Mike, if you don't mind, could you pop up that PowerPoint presentation real quick? We also have it in the chat, all of Josh's contact information there. But feel free to reach out to Josh. He's got all your answers. I know we also had some questions about which products to apply these strategies to. Josh can help you there, no question. So everybody, thanks for attending. Really appreciate the engagement. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
And everybody enjoy your Wednesday. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.